When I lost my apartment in a fire, my parents said it was a sign from God to start over somewhere else like hell. Then I found out they'd secretly moved my brother into their guest house rentry. At Sunday dinner, my mother looked me dead in the face and said, "You should have been the one in the flames." My father just chuckled and said, "We stopped loving you when you turned 12. I sat back, smiled, and said, "Then it's only fair I return the favor." I walked out. 2 months later, I made a move that took everything and left them speechless. So, this is a real thing that happened to me like 2 months ago. And NGL, I'm still not sure what to do with all this energy. So, here's the story because IDK maybe I just need to get it out and see if I'm nuts for feeling the way I do. Just for context, I'm Clark, 27, oldest of 2. My brother Peter is 21. Parents are Lynn and Daryl. I don't really post on here a lot, but I lurk a ton. Always thought these insane family stories were kind of exaggerated tbh. Guess not. Anyway, I'll start with what actually happened. BC, it's still kind of wild to me. My apartment burned down. Not like the whole building, but my unit plus 2 others. Electrical fire. Not my fault. Fire department said as much. I lost almost everything except my phone, wallet, backpack, the clothes I was wearing. It was a Thursday, early evening. I just gotten back from getting groceries. So yeah, that sucked. Nobody was hurt at least, but all my stuff gone. So, I start calling around trying to figure out where to go. I don't have a girlfriend or anything ATM and most of my friends either have roommates or live far out. I'm in SoCal. Everything is like an hour away unless you're lucky. I called my parents first, mostly out of habit. Didn't even think about it. Just figured, hey, maybe I can crash in the guest house for a bit. They've got a perfectly nice one behind their house. Always empty when I visit. I'm not super close to them, but I've always been polite about it. Show up for holidays, Sunday dinners, that kind of thing. So, I call my mom. She picks up, sounds weirdly calm, like I tell her my apartment burned, and she just goes, "Oh, wow. That's something." Then she says, and I swear this is what she said, "Maybe it's a sign from God that it's time for you to start over somewhere else." Like, who the hell says that to their kid after a fire? I thought maybe she was just shocked or didn't get it, but nope. She just starts talking about how sometimes life gives you these little pushes and maybe I should take the opportunity to travel or move to a smaller town or something like it's a road trip, not me losing everything I own. I ask if I can come by and stay in the guest house for a while, just until I find a new place. Suddenly, it's all excuses. She says the guest house is under renovation. There's no space, and besides, they're getting older and can't deal with that kind of disruption right now. She suggests I check out some cheap motel for a week or 2 and see where the spirit leads me. I'm not kidding. That's what she said. I hang up kind of stunned and just sit there on the curb outside what's left of my place, refreshing hotels.com on my dying phone. I end up crashing with this guy Sean from my old soccer league for a few nights. It's cramped. His girlfriend isn't thrilled, but whatever. I'm grateful. While I'm looking for apartments, I keep thinking about my parents' vibe on the phone. Like how they were almost relieved and how the guest house just happened on to be unavailable right when I needed it. It didn't sit right. So, I started poking around. So, about a week in, I'm scrolling through Insta stories and see my brother Peter posting from what is clearly my parents' backyard, literally their pool. I recognize the stupid flamingo float my mom refuses to throw out. Then he pans the camera and yeah, there's the guest house. Lights on inside, his hoodie hanging on the porch railing. I DM him. He leaves me on read. Later, he posts a pic from inside with the same ugly curtains my mom picked out. He's totally living there. I'm sitting in Sean's apartment eating ramen from a mug while my brother is living rent-free in the place my parents just told me was unavailable. I'm not dumb. I put it together real quick. So, I call my dad, try to get a straight answer. He's even worse than my mom. He just says things are complicated. Peter has some stuff going and they're trying to help him get on his feet. Doesn't offer me any, not even a couch. I ask why they lied about the guest house. He just says it's not my business. Then he hangs up. I throw my phone on the bed, probably harder than I needed to for the next week. I kind of go on autopilot, just doing what I have to get by. Sean's place is loud. His GF is always giving me side eye. I start sleeping at work just to avoid being a burden. Showering at the gym, eating whatever's cheap. I try not to think about my parents, but I keep getting these passive-aggressive texts from my mom, like, thinking of you. Hope you're finding your way. No actual offers to help. Nothing about money or a place to stay. I don't reply. Then I get a text from my mom inviting me to Sunday dinner. She says it's important that we all be together as a family and she's making roast. I almost ignore it, but honestly, I'm pissed and bored and want answers. So, I say fine, whatever. I show up wearing the only dress shirt I managed to save, which still smells like smoke no matter how many times I wash it. Peter is there looking like he just woke up, wearing slides, acting like nothing's weird. My mom hugs him, pats me on the shoulder. Dinner is awkward. My mom talks about church. Peter mumbles about some online class he's taking. My dad just eats and doesn't look at me. I try to ask Peter how long he's been in the guest house. He just shrugs and goes back to his phone. My mom changes the subject every time I bring up my situation. She says, maybe this is a blessing in disguise for me. Maybe I needed a wake-up call. I just stare at her. I say, you really think this is some cosmic lesson? She looks me dead in the eye and says, maybe it would have been better if you'd been the one in the flames since you're always so restless. My dad laughs. Just a little laugh like it's a dumb joke, but I can tell he means it. Then he says, we stopped loving you when you turned 12. You know that, right? I just sit there for a second because what do you even do with that? Peter looks up, but only for a second, then just goes back to his feed. My mom is still looking at me like she's daring me to say something. I push my chair back, stand up, and say, then it's only fair. I return the favor. My dad rolls his eyes. My mom starts to say my name, but I'm already heading for the door. Peter mutters something under his breath. I don't even care what. I grab my keys and leave. My mom slams the door behind me. I stood on the porch for a minute, just breathing. It's not like I thought my parents loved me or anything, but hearing it out loud like that with Peter just sitting there, that was different. I didn't cry or anything. Just got in my car and started driving. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I wasn't letting it slide. Not this time. I'm not the type to just walk away and let people step on me. Not anymore. So yeah, that's how it started. If you're still reading, I guess you're probably wondering what I did next. Honestly, me, too. I went home that night with one thing on my mind. If they want to play hard, I can play harder. Next part's where things actually get interesting. I promise. Update 1. Alright, back for part 2. BC, you're asked, and honestly, I need to vent. Also, thanks for the DMs. Some were wild, but appreciated, So, picking up where I left off after that Sunday dinner where my parents basically said they never loved me. Still wild typing that like WTF. I left, slammed the door, no one followed me out, not even Peter, which honestly stung more than I thought it would. I just drove around for a while, not really thinking, just angry. Ended up at a 24 hours donut shop, scrolling on my phone, not wanting to go back to Sean's because his girlfriend gets in these moods where everything I do is too loud or too messy. Started looking for apartments again, but I already knew I couldn't afford anything decent without some help. And clearly, my parents were out. For a couple days, I was just in a kind of autopilot grind. Sleep, shower at the gym, eat whatever, try not to think about what happened. But things started sticking out. Little stuff that just kept bugging me. Like, why was my mom so set on me not coming near the house? Every time I even texted, she'd reply hours later with some fake positive energy. And I started thinking about the guest house. Like, why does Peter get it? Why the secrecy? Why the lies? He's not a bad guy, just always been the golden child. Always got whatever he wanted. I always chalked it up to the usual older versus younger sibling thing. But after that dinner, I started replaying stuff from way back. I went by my parents' place one afternoon just to see if maybe I was overthinking. I parked down the block, walked past the house, saw Peter's car in the driveway and music coming out of the guest house window. I could hear him on a call laughing. I didn't go up or anything, but it was clear he was living his best life while I was couch hopping. Not going to lie, that made me angry all over again, so I started paying attention. I talked to my Aunt Natalie, my mom's sister, who's the only one in the family who ever really asks how I'm doing. She called me after seeing some vague post my mom made on Facebook about prayers for the lost. I told her what happened with the fire and how my parents basically iced me out. She got real quiet, then said she thought my parents might be having some money problems, but didn't know details. I thought that was weird because last time I visited, my dad was talking about diversifying assets and all that crap, acting like everything was fine. I started wondering if the guest house was more important to them than I thought. Then, like 2 days later, my mom posts a photo on her Instagram of the backyard, all done up with string lights and fancy cushion. In the background, you can see the guest house door open and Peter's shoes right on the step. The caption's all about family blessings and making new memories. I almost threw my phone. I just commented, "Looks nice for a renovation." And she deleted it within 5 minutes and texted me to stop causing drama. It got clearer that they were hiding something, but I still didn't know what. I dug a bit, mostly through old convos, and remembered something my dad mentioned ages ago about wanting to turn the guest house into an Airbnb or something to help with retirement. Made sense, but then why is Peter living there for free? So, I texted him just straight up like, "Do you pay rent?" He didn't answer. But the next day, he sent me a meme about nepotism babies, which honestly was kind of funny, but also like read the room, dude. Meanwhile, Sean's patience was running out. His girlfriend started slamming the bathroom door every time I used it first. And one night, she yelled at me for leaving a spoon in the sink. I get it. I started sleeping in my car a couple nights a week just to avoid conflict. I texted my parents again just for the hell of it, asking if maybe I could at least use their shower sometimes. No answer. Then 2 days later, my mom sends this long text about boundaries and how everyone needs to carry their own burdens. I laughed out loud in the parking lot, so I started digging for real. I know my parents have some family money from my mom's side, but they always made it sound like it wasn't much. But then Natalie called again, this time actually upset, saying my mom was asking around about the inheritance paperwork. I literally had no idea what she was talking about. Turns out when my grandma passed a few years back, she left a chunk of money for me and Peter, but my parents were supposed to hold it until we hit 30. Natalie said she thought maybe my parents were trying to get me to sign something to give up my share, but she didn't know for sure. So now I'm pissed. Not only did they freeze me out, they're actively hiding money that's supposed to be mine. I start asking questions carefully. I text my mom asking if there's any paperwork I need to sign since I'm starting over and could use some help. She replies with a wall of text about how money can't solve everything and the Lord provides in mysterious ways. I screenshot it, send it to Natalie. She just sends back a thumbs down. Meanwhile, I start noticing other stuff. My parents are suddenly posting a lot about downsizing and embracing simplicity. My dad puts his old watch collection up on Facebook Marketplace, which is weird because he used to brag about never selling them. My mom lists a bunch of furniture from the guest house. I ask Natalie if she thinks they're strapped for cash and she just says maybe, but they'd never say it out loud the next week. I run into Victoria, my cousin, at a grocery store. She asks if I'm coming to the family barbecue. I laugh and say, not unless my parents start acting like human. She looks at me weird, then says she heard my parents are having a hard time with the Airbnb thing and might have to kick Peter out. I ask her what she means and she says, "Oh, didn't you know your parents were counting on the guest house to bring in some extra money, but now with Peter there, they're stuck." I ask how she knows and she just shrugs and says, "Mom talks." I thank her and leave. So now it all makes sense. My parents don't want me around because they don't want to deal with me or Peter. They want to cash in on the stupid guest house, but they're too soft on Peter to make him pay rent or move out. So they just cut me off, hoping I disappear and not make waves. I start thinking about what I can do. I'm not the type to just let people walk all over me, especially not after that Sunday dinner. I start talking to Natalie more, just asking about the inheritance stuff, trying to figure out what my rights are. She says I should absolutely not sign anything without reading it, and that if my parents ask me to give up my share, I should say no, I agree. And ask her to let me know if she hears anything else. Meanwhile, my mom starts sending me these weird guilt trip texts about family unity and how sometimes sacrifice is needed for the greater good. I start ignoring her. Peter texts me a meme about family therapy, and I just send back a thumbs up. I start quietly telling a couple cousins what's going on, just facts, no drama. Victoria says she had no idea and that she always thought my parents favored Peter, but didn't realize it was this bad at this point. I'm getting angrier by the day. I'm tired of being polite. I decide if they want to play this game, I'm not just going to take it. I'm going to make it hurt financially and otherwise. I start looking into what it would take to force the inheritance issue and how to make sure my parents can't just sweep it under the rug. Natalie agrees to help quietly. I start making notes, screenshots, saving every text and email. The best part, the more I dig, the more cracks I see in their perfect image. My dad starts snapping at people in group chats. My mom starts posting passive-aggressive stuff about ungrateful children. At the next family thing, my mom hugs me for the first time in forever, but it's stiff and I don't hug back. Victoria asks if I'm okay. I just say working on it. This is the part where I stopped being passive. I decided I was done playing nice. Next part is when I actually start making moves, and trust me, they didn't see it coming. If you're still reading, yeah, it gets worse before it gets better. I'm not letting this go. Update 2. Okay, so here's where it stops being just my family sucks and starts being I'm actually going to do something about it. Because at a certain point, I just got tired of feeling like a side character in my own life. I started noticing things about my parents that felt off even for them. Like my dad was suddenly super present on the family group chat, which he usually ignores unless it's his birthday. And my mom kept posting vague inspirational quotes about letting go and trusting the path. But then she'd turn around and text me about how we all need to make sacrifices in hard times. Classic Lynn move. Honestly, I'd see Peter at random, usually in drive-thrus or at the gym, and he'd act weirdly defensive like he knew I was about to call him out for living rent-free while I had nothing. He'd make jokes about how he was living the soft life and then immediately ask if I'd heard anything about our inheritance. So, it was obvious he knew more than he let on, just didn't want to get involved. I stopped asking him for anything after he called me obsessed with drama to Victoria. I mean, not going to lie, he's not wrong. But still, I'm not just making this up for fun. The real shift started at a family barbecue Natalie threw, which I only went to because she basically begged me and said she'd make sure my parents behaved. I show up, bring chips, try to keep it low-key. My mom gives me that tight smile she does when she wants to look like the world's best mom. My dad barely says hi, but people keep asking me if I'm doing better and if I need anything, which is weird because I never told anyone besides Natalie about the fire, so clearly she's been telling people, but in her version, it's all about how strong I am, which whatever. But it gets annoying. Then my mom corners me near the drinks and asks if I've come to my senses about the inheritance stuff. She says it like it's about me being difficult, not about them hiding money from. I say, just tell me what you want and stop playing games. She gets all flustered, then straight up says, it would be easier if I just signed over my share so they can handle it properly. I ask what properly means. She says something about needing the money to secure the family's future. She means her and my dad, not me or Peter. I tell her I'm not signing anything. Right after that, my dad marches over and tries to act like he's being reasonable. He says, there's always been a plan for the guest house, and they can't just give handouts to everyone. I ask if that's why they gave it to Peter for free. And he just says, Peter needs support right now. I say, I needed support when my apartment burned down and you gave me nothing. He shrugs, says, life isn't fair. Natalie comes over and basically tells them to back off. My dad rolls his eyes and walks away. My mom slaps the counter and storms off. Victoria makes a face at me like, What even is this? I just shake my head. The bob ends with my parents leaving early, my mom slamming the car door. After that, people start texting. Some cousins ask if I'm okay. Others say I should just let it go, but I'm not letting it go. I start talking to Natalie about what I can actually do. She says, "You have rights here. Don't let them guilt you out of it." I decide to push back harder. So, the next few weeks, I start telling the rest of the family what's actually going on. Not in a dramatic way, just facts. I tell Victoria the whole thing. How my parents lied about the guest house. How they tried to get me to sign away my share of Grandma's money. She doesn't even look surprised, just says, "That sounds like them." Other cousins start asking questions and soon my parents get wind of it. My mom texts me furious stuff about airing dirty laundry. My dad calls and says I'm being disrespectful to the family. I hang up on him. The best part is watching the little cracks in their perfect image start to show. My mom tries to organize another family dinner and barely anyone shows up. My dad starts snapping at Peter for leaving dirty dishes in the guest house. Peter texts me that it's my fault things are tense. I reply, "Welcome to my world." At this point, I start looking into how to force the inheritance issue legally. I'm not going to get into details. Not trying to dox myself here, but basically, I find out I can make them provide records and prove what's going on with the money. I don't need to sue or anything. Just make it clear I'm not backing down. I send my mom a text saying I want an accounting of everything from Grandma's will. She calls me screaming. Says I'm a traitor. Says I'm tearing the family apart. I hang up on her. She sends a wall of texts that I don't read. Meanwhile, my parents start posting even more desperate stuff online about forgiveness and moving on from the past. I see my dad at the store one day. He tries to shoulder bump me out of the way. I just stare at him. He says, "You think you're so clever, but you're not getting a dime." I say, "We'll see." He shoves past me. I walk out and text Natalie. She just sends back a gift of someone eating popcorn. The last straw is when Peter texts me that my parents are trying to kick him out now because they need to get the guest house rented for cash. He says, "Thanks for ruining everything." I reply, "You're welcome." A couple days later, my mom calls to negotiate. She says, if I sign over my share, they'll give me a little cash to help me get back on my feet. I laugh and say, "I want what's mine, nothing less." She hangs up. I hear from Victoria that my parents are freaking out, trying to figure out how to pay bills now that they can't just sell Grandma's stuff without me signing off. I go to one more family thing, this time, a birthday party for my cousin's kid. My parents show up late, look tired. Don't talk to anyone. My dad tries to act like nothing's wrong, but nobody's really buying at it. At one point, he corners me in the kitchen and tries to intimidate me. Says, "You're making a mistake." I say, "Maybe, but I'm not making it alone." He slams a cabinet and leaves. So, yeah, that's where it's at. The screws are turning. My parents are losing face, losing money, losing whatever grip they thought they had. I'm not done yet. Not even close. Next move is going to hit them where it hurts. Honestly, I can't wait if you made it this far. Appreciate you. One more part left and then you'll see how it ends for real. Final update. So, yeah, this is the part where everything actually broke open. If you've been following, you know, I'm not into forgiveness or whatever. I'm not here for a healing art. I wanted them to feel it for real. So, if you're hoping for some everyone holds hands ending, you're going to be disappointed. It started with a call from my mom and instantly I knew something was off. She's suddenly all sweet, acting like she just wants to talk things out and bring the family back together. I literally laughed. The last time she called, she was accusing me of tearing the family apart and screaming. I don't even try to hide my annoyance. I just say, "So, what's the deal now? Did you figure out you actually need me for something?" She gets quiet and says, "Maybe we could meet up. Just the three of us. No cousins, no Natalie, no drama." So, I show up, but not at the house. I pick a coffee shop near their place. Keep it public so there's less chance of them making a scene. My dad shows up late, sits down with that look he gets like he's about to deliver some lecture about growing up. My mom just tries to play the peacekeeper. They start in on how things have gotten out of hand and how family comes first. I let them talk. I basically just nod, scroll through my phone. Finally, my dad snaps and says, "You think you've got us cornered, but you're not going to win." I tell him, this isn't about winning. It's about getting what's mine. My mom tries to reach for my hand across the table and I pull away. Then my dad says, "We're in a bad spot, okay? The guest house needs repairs. We're behind on bills and with everything you've been telling the family, nobody wants to help us." I just stare at him. He actually looks nervous, which is new. I say, "Sounds like a you problem." My mom tries to guilt trip me. Starts in on how parents make mistakes and sometimes you have to do what's right for the whole family. I just cut her off. I say, "You lied about the guest house. You lied about the inheritance and you made it clear at dinner I mean nothing to you. Why would I do anything for you now?" My dad mutters, "You think you're so much better than us." I say no. I just know when someone's trying to play me at that point. My mom stands up and slaps the table. She says if you don't help us, you'll regret it. I laugh and say I think you'll be the ones regretting this. I leave, go straight to Natalie's. She's already made some calls and has all the paperwork ready for me to force the inheritance issue. I sign the docs. What this means in real life, my parents have to provide full accounting of everything from Grandma's will. And if there's any missing money, they're on the hook to repay my share. There's no hiding, no let's talk about it later. They have to sell what needs selling, divide what needs dividing, and they can't lock me out of anything. Natalie backs me up, says she'll make sure nothing sketchy goes down the next week. My parents start blowing up my phone. First, it's anger, then it's begging. My dad leaves a voicemail saying I'm ruining their lives. My mom sends a string of texts about how I'm breaking her heart. I don't answer any of them. Meanwhile, I hear from Victoria that my parents are panicking about the guest house. They can't afford to fix it. They can't get Peter to pay and they need cash fast or the bank is going to come after them for late payment. Peter texts me that I'm screwing over the whole family. I just tell him to take it up with his landlords. The fallout is real. My parents are forced to sell off a bunch of stuff, including the guest house, just to cover my share. That means Peter gets booted finally. He's pissed. Calls me every name in the book, but I just block his number. My dad tries to get around the paperwork, but Natalie shuts it down every time. My mom calls and tries to make it my fault that they're losing things. I just say, "You made your choices." The family group chat is a disaster. People are taking sides. Half of them think I'm justified. The other half think I'm heartless. Honestly, I don't even care. For the first time in forever, I'm not just rolling over and taking it. I get my share straight up. Not a penny less. My parents are left scrambling and have to move into something smaller. They try to guilt me into helping with the transition. I just say, figure it out. There's a family dinner at Natalie. Couple weeks later, my parents show up late, looking tired and not talking to anyone. My dad tries to corner me in the hallway, says, "You really think this is what Grandma would have wanted?" I say, "I think she'd want people to get what they were promised." My mom tries to cry in front of everyone, but nobody really reacts. Victoria hugs me after and says, "Glad you finally stood up for yourself." The weirdest part is how normal life feels after. I get my own place. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. I block my parents' numbers for real this time. Peter tries to add me on Snapchat like nothing happened. I just ignore him. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, but then I remember sitting at that dinner, my mom looking me in the face and basically wishing I was dead. I'm not the villain here. I just finally decided to play by their rules. And I played harder last thing. A couple family friends reached out after hearing what went down. One actually asked me if I'd do it all again. I said absolutely, because if you don't stand up for yourself, people like my parents will just keep taking. So yeah, that's the story. Not a happy ending, but it's real and it's mine. If you're dealing with family who treat you like trash, you don't owe them anything. Thanks for reading. This whole thing has been wild. Maybe I'll update again if something else happens, but for now, I'm finally out.